Brother Colin, welcome to Spotlight. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. We generating a buzz. I think we were on Umoja last week, Thursday.
Was it?
A,
A week
a week
before.
before. Yeah,
Right.
that's right. A week before. Last week was the day of prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there seemed to be some interest generating. Quite a few people said that they would be watching tonight. I think Facebook. I think Facebook we reach about almost 2,000 people. So we expect that there are a lot of viewers and
Right.
a lot of people are interested in this topic. Well, I want to start out by asking you, what are the common challenges of local businesses? What can local businesses unite around? We have the government is run by business people. You know, the men and the women are for the most part business people, with perhaps a couple of exceptions.
Right.
But certainly all the cabinet members are business people. And so it stands to reason, and local business people, and it stands to reason that they would have, their businesses would have the same challenges that the other businesses in the community would have. And so there would be easy mitigation of the challenges in order for business to be facilitated and to be successful in the territory.
Well, I think the two questions wrapped up. You asked two questions essentially. My views on the fact that you have business people in the cabinet and running the government and the challenges facing
Yes, two
business
different
generally.
questions, yes.
With respect to the first, that of the government being comprised, the cabinet, let's say, being comprised mostly of business persons, I guess the assumption is that as business people they would be sensitive to the needs of business, to the interests of business, and I don't think that they're not sensitive. I mean, I'll put it another way. I don't think they're insensitive. But I think that when a politician, whatever his background is, assumes public office, his responsibilities are to a wider constituency than just one particular sector. Even if that sector is business, there are many other competing interests for the resources of government. There's social demands, to take care of people in various ways, education, medical services, and so forth. And whereas in an ideal set of circumstances, business would benefit from perhaps more open markets, easier, less regulation, and so forth. I believe that the politicians find themselves having to balance that against other demands. You can't, I don't think that they can find themselves satisfying one sector to the detriment of another. So
Well, the prevailing, yeah, I understand. But the prevailing view, that you hear most politicians expose, is that we need to have more income in order to facilitate the needs of the social sector, the social needs and the infrastructural needs.
Sure.
And of course, business, in our system, business is what generate that income.
yeah.
So it seems to me that, and you always hear this, that they would be more sensitive to the needs of business success.
I agree with you. I mean, you hear that, but I think that you have to look at the circumstances as they exist in reality. How much they can do without jeopardizing other things that they may want to do. I agree with you entirely that business is the engine of economic life in the territory, and is a basis on which government really is built. And there are ways in which government could do more. Certainly, there's a vast gap between where we are and where we could possibly be in terms of efficiency, delivery of services, ease of doing business generally, through more responsiveness from government departments when you interface with them, things like that. But if you go further and, to argue that government should offer businesses more concessionary terms, a more concessionary environment in terms of regulation and taxes and so forth. I would argue that yes, in ideal circumstances, that is the case. However, government needs a certain level of revenue in order to carry out its mandate. So the right balance has to be struck. Where that balance is, I think, changes from time to time.
All right, let's get to the common challenges then of local business, which I'm sure that the businessman, politician share the same experience. You had mentioned things like regulations, ease of doing business, the environmental conditions. What are those things? What, if you could be so specific, what regulations, for example, or what business environment you think that businesses need, and particularly local businesses need, in order to thrive, be more successful, and have an easier time doing business in the territory?
I can draw on examples that I'm directly familiar with. I've always maintained that in the business world, opportunity arises from an opportunity will arise for a certain length of time before it's gone. One of the challenges that businesses face is being able to get government to respond to things like, in my field, planning applications or trade licenses, things like that, in a timely fashion so that you can establish your business in order to meet or to take advantage of an opportunity in a given business cycle. I mean, business cycles go up and down, as you well know.
So what kind of time are you looking at, for example, a trade license, or I think, wait, no, a month, 6 weeks?
Probably a month to 6 weeks.
What you looking at? You want to go in and walk out, go to the trade department and walk out a business person? No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens in places like New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
With respect to certain types of businesses, yes, you should be able to walk in, fill out a form, pay your fee, and walk out with
Your license.
With a license. In certain business areas, say for dangerous professions, obviously the vetting process needs to be more detailed. But generally speaking, for the vast majority of licensing matters, the time it takes, in my opinion, could easily be cut by at least 50%. We've come a long way in terms of where we are now from where we used to be.
Yes.
But there's still a long way to go. Again, because a business opportunity is out there for a limited period of time, and if you can't respond to it,
you lose opportunity.
you lose the opportunity. And not only do you as a business person lose the opportunity, but you lose the opportunity to employ people. You lose the opportunity.
The community loses
The
opportunity.
community loses
The
the opportunity. The government loses the opportunity for revenue.
Yes. Okay. So that's one thing. I know that trade license, work permits was another thing
Yes.
that business have a problem with. How you find, is that improving? The minister talked about making that more efficient. Anything changed?
As everything is relative, it's certainly better than it used to be. It's not as good as it's not as efficient as it ought to be. I've heard what the minister says, and I hope that the improvements that he's talked about come to fruition. But for a simple work permit, having to wait sometimes 6 weeks is really hard to fathom.
Well, what else what other challenges businesses are having?
I think one of the challenges that certainly we have experienced, and I'm sure this applies to the wider business community, is the difficulty in interfacing with multiple departments. And you may have an application or you wish to do something and you need permits from multiple agencies.
Departments.
There isn't one point of contact that you can rely on to shepherd your
process,
application
yeah.
through to shepherd the process. And in many instances, not only doesn't that exist, it's often the case that one department doesn't know what the other department is doing, and even worse, sometimes they're working at cross purposes. So,
So if you go to the trade department to get a license and you need to get something, or you go to the planning board to get a permission, and you need to go and get something from the health department, or you need to get, depends on what it is, you have to walk. You have to walk your process, your application through all the stages instead of having them.
You do, and you have to keep on top of it yourself, basically.
So you have to be calling, following up.
Yes, you
Okay.
do. You do. And for the small businessman, it's challenging, it's time consuming, and it costs money.
Okay. Any other thing you could think of that we need to look at in terms of making business easier in the territory?
I think generally let's say at the ministerial level, I think it's widely accepted and it's widely known and accepted that business has a role to play, that government depends directly on the success of business in order to carry out the things that they want to do. I think it's at the middle and, say, the clerical level where
The administration.
Yes, the administration. The administration is sometimes not, perhaps not guided by the same the same imperatives of efficiency that the higher ups would like to see.
So the sense of urgency does not run throughout the whole civil service. Civil service.
I don't think it does.
Okay, and
it runs through it in a very uneven way. Some agencies far more efficient than others. There are some that are very efficient. There are some that used to be inefficient that are now efficient, and so the picture certainly isn't all bad. And I think generally speaking, the trend lines are in the right direction.
Now, what role can the business community play in influencing the government, or the administration, to become, to employ those efficiencies that you mentioned. It seems to me that the business community should be able to sit down with government and bring to the attention of government those issues, those that you just mentioned, and other issues that other business people may have, and have the government respond timely, right away, to get these things straightened out. It doesn't seem to happen. Does the business community have that kind of relationship with the elected representatives that they can meet with them as a group, discuss the issues, and get satisfaction, get a response in a timely fashion?
First of all, how does the business community act? That's a question. That's the first question I would ask rhetorically.
Yes.
The business community is represented by several organizations. There's the Chamber of Commerce, and there are other smaller, more, let's say, more focused organizations. So they do have a voice. How effective that voice is, I think, is debatable. I mean, if you accept that there are areas that need to be addressed in order to improve the business climate, then to the extent that the business community made representations and things haven't changed, you could conclude that they haven't been very effective or successful. I don't think that the organizations that represent business have been taken as seriously as they ought. And I also think that part of the reason for that is that in government here represents a really preponderant force in our economy. They're the biggest employer, they're the biggest consumer of goods and services, they're also the regulator of business, they also provide financing through the National Bank indirectly. So when you have an entity like the BVI government and its statutory bodies with that preponderance of purchasing power, employment, and so forth, it's hard for business to make its weight felt against that, because each business, or most businesses here, rely on government for a large segment of their market for their goods or their services. And if that is the case, you may find yourself treading very lightly before you confront your biggest consumer, before you confront the entity that licenses you, before you confront the entity that provides the finance for your business. There are some businesses that can put their head up above the parapet, but many can't.
Well, see, this is where I get off. This is where I put the blame on the business community. And all what you just said to me is that the business community is not united and not focused on what is necessary to get business done,
Yeah.
one, and two, get business done for the benefit of the community. Because all those statutory bodies and all those departments are headed by persons whom we elect. And increasingly, campaign financing is becoming of greater necessity in the Virgin Islands. When it used to cost $10,000 to run a successful campaign, it now costs $150,000 to run a successful campaign. And certainly that money comes from, in a large measure, from the business community.
Right.
And so it seems to me like that view that you're putting forward is a view that relinquishes the power of business, the influence of business to government. Simply out of fear that is perhaps an illusion.
That fear that you talk of, I think for many businesses is not an illusion. I think that fear is very real.
But that's only because you're not united. That's only because you're not working together for the best interests of the country. You're just, everybody's as an individual. Businesses, individual little businesses, and little businesses, medium-sized businesses, bigger businesses. Whoever got the most, the big business got the most influence because they got the most money to support campaigns, or they are biggers in a political party, or what have you. The little business is struggling. He can't afford to give the contribution, and so y'all never get together, the big and the small, to deal with business issues that transcends competition.
Yeah. I can't argue with that, but I can only suggest that there are reasons for that state of affairs, and you described it as having a fair element in it. I think that's very true. How do you get around that? That's not an easy hurdle to overcome. Your business will require work permits. Your business requires licenses of various types, and as long as that's the case, people will find that they might be better off going along to get along.
Let's talk about that some more right after these words from our sponsors. Keep it locked ahead of Spotlight.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited and CTL Home Center, the best products for the lowest prices, period.
Now with Yellow, you can search from over 25,000 local businesses to find whatever it is you're looking for. Say you need to find a dentist to fix that molar. Simply search on your computer and findyellow.com will find a dentist close by with business times, star ratings, payment options, and peer reviews. So you know what you're getting yourself into. It's that easy. Searching on findyellow.com is just like asking a local. Because if it's on the island, it's on findyellow.com. Yellow, we know local.
The nice thing about the National Bank is that they are actually true to their concept of being a national bank in terms of understanding the needs of all islands. They understood what we needed at New Horizon Ferry Services in expanding our offerings to improve shipping across our island. Because we have been in this business now for many years and established a good relationship with the bank, they saw our track record and they understood what we needed to expand our business. And together, we have formed a great partnership that is helping our business to grow.
Paradise means being able to expand our business at the right time.
National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official Bank of Paradise.
Serving the community for over 25 years, Tortola Concrete Limited is the leading producer of concrete products in the BVI. With grades of 3,000 to 5,000 PSI, Tortola Concrete ready mix quality unmatched in the industry, and we can mix to your specifications. Our aggregates are clean through our unique washing process for our smooth, clean mix, and our special chilling process makes our concrete crack resistant. Tortola Concrete Limited is the concrete company for all your quality concrete products. Gravel, road base, face stone, boulders, armor rock, coarse sand, terrace, and the cleanest, strongest, crack-resistant, ready-mix concrete. Tortola Concrete batch plan serve you Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. until the last load. Our knowledgeable, effective staff gives you free estimate and delivers on time to any location. Contact Tortola Concrete at 494-3259, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Conveniently located in Parkwood Pond near the BVI electricity plant. At Tortola Concrete Limited, the strength is in the mix.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Ed Renk. I'm here with businessman Colin O'Neill, and we're talking about business. We're talking about doing business, how the businesses can be more effective in doing business in the community. And kind of we left off with, in my mind, two things. The fear factor, because of the size of government and the role that government is playing in the economy. Now, I don't view the government's role in the economy as a bad thing. And because in economies like the BVI, where financial services and tourism are our main economic pillars, and most of the financial services money goes into the treasury, whereas most of the tourism money circulates before it gets to the treasury, and financial services is about 60% or more of the government's revenue. By necessity, government will have to be the one circulating more of that money. I don't think that there's anything that we're going to be able to do about that particular circumstance in the foreseeable future, where it comes to a point where there's so much private sector business that government's role become less. Mm-hmm. I don't see that, but and I don't think it's a bad thing, given the nature, as I said before. So therefore, there's got to be some way where businesses can have a relationship, a partnership with government, where it gets the things that it needs to get done in order for business success, business growth and development, and a harmonious relationship between business themselves, government, and their employees or labor. And I see that individualism of business as hampering that effectiveness. And you talk about, you mentioned as well challenges in businesses coming together. What are those challenges? Why is it that you're not seeing the effectiveness of the common good and the collective?
Well, first of all, I think what has to be borne in mind is that business is, you talk about business and the business community. Yes, there is a business community, but it's not a monolith. It's not one, one entity with undistinguished parts. The interests of a large business is often completely at odds with small business.
At odds or just different?
Different. Let's say different. You might find differences across business types. And also, I think it has to be borne in mind, too, that businesses are often in competition with each other. And, I think it's probably not as natural as one might believe for them to come together. Everyone is trying to gain a competitive advantage over the other.
But isn't that a mistake, though? Because that's why I started out with things you have in common.
Yeah.
Because certainly there are issues, and you mentioned a few of them, that transcend competition, that benefits all businesses, and benefits all businesses in a way that if they would coalesce around those challenges and those issues, everybody could compete and play on the field, but it'll be easier to play. The field will be smoother. The grass wouldn't give you a bump, so to speak.
It's certainly not my intention here to come and defend this government or any other government, but
And I'm not asking you to.
right. But I think that if one
And actually, we're talking about governments generally.
Governments generically,
yes.
yes.
That's what we're talking about, the relationship between business and government, and later on I want to get into business, government, and labor, or employer, and
Right.
government, however we want to talk it.
I think that, however you look, or whichever government we're talking about over, say, the last 10, 15 years, from where we were in terms of the, say, the time frames that used to exist to get certain things done, to where we are today, there's a remarkable improvement. And I think that, I don't think that government just did it out of, because they felt...
They recognize it and felt it need to be done.
They recognized it and felt it need to be done. And they recognized it in part because people made representations for them to do it. Yes, the business community could do more. The business organization, the organizations representing business could be more effective. But I think significant progress has been made. If in an ideal world, for my business, I would like, it would be great if I had no duties to pay, no employment tax, no NHI and so forth. But I think most businesses recognize that those costs of doing business in the BVI not only benefit the people directly receiving those benefits, but it also helps business. The price that we pay to do business in the BVI isn't helping some unidentified people over there. It's helping us to have the kind of workforce, the kind of infrastructure that we need in order to do business.
But that is what kills me about what you just said. And because
We don't want that.
yes, because how can it be an ideal situation for business not to want to pay to have those money set aside in column taxes for the development of the community, the workforce, the consumer? I mean, these are people that you need to produce the wealth for your business. These are people that you need to consume your products, except you are marketing internationally. Right. And certainly you need them to be well educated, healthy, and have a good mindset in order to come and produce the goods and services that you're selling to make you rich. How is it? It could be an ideal situation not to want to provide those things.
I think that reasonable business people do want to provide those things. They do want all of the things that you described, and they accept the price you have to pay in order to get them. I know that there are some people out there who, for example, think that the customs tariff here in the BVI say is too high and it's stifling business. But when you compare it to many other places, it's actually fairly low. So things like import duties in the BVI are relatively low compared to many other places, whereas certain other, say, payroll expenses may be somewhat higher. But in general, I mean, as if you take the cost of doing business in the whole, in terms of what you have to pay to government and for labor and imports and so forth, we're at a level, I think, that is generally fairly fair.
The low end, you feel like you're at the low end of the strata regionally when you compare to other countries and so on in the region.
There's no doubt about it. Certainly in terms of import duties, I mean, I was just talking with a car dealer the other day. You pay I think it's 105% duty on a motor car in Barbados. We pay what, 20? And some of the other costs are like attached to employment, Social Security, NHI, payroll tax. Yes, they may be high, but I think that the leadership who we elected, reflecting the desires of their constituents for the most part, have determined that it's necessary to provide those services in order to have a healthy, educated, and generally socially protected society. There are many who would argue that cost is too high and we shouldn't provide all of that.
But certainly, small businesses,
Yeah.
for example, may have. I mean, I could see how they may have some challenges
Yes.
paying some of those things, but it's a percentage,
Right.
so it's proportionate.
Right.
So they still should be able to give some little thing. A big business, of course, will give more proportionate to their income.
Yes.
A small business will give less proportionate to its income.
Right.
So, it should be something that businesses make up their mind to do. But it seems like in the Virgin Islands, businesses don't want to pay anything at all. And the government a few years back abolished the duty, right? No, they changed from duty on all the expenses to just
Right.
duty on the invoice,
Right.
right?
The duty is on FOB as opposed to CIF.
Okay, I don't know what I mean. But I understand how I put it.
Yes, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what it is.
So, and it showed that, and the business community promised a reduction in price if that were to happen. But it showed that the savings, either wasn't a significant savings, or the savings were not passed on. I don't know which is which, but then they put it back on again. So, it's business shooting itself in the foot, hammering itself, and it seems to me like instead of a harmonious relationship, government is protecting us from ourselves.
I'm not sure I follow up.
Well, if the government isn't there for things like the labor code, for example, is one of the protections to make sure that Virgin Islanders get first preference in being hired. Consumer protection, or consumer affairs, I guess when it realizes its full potential, will also be there to make sure that we're not being ripped off, we are getting quality products, and that sort of thing. So those are protections that the government has developed for the general population to protect them from businesses that might harm the population.
Yeah.
So in other words, instead of, why aren't you, the businessman, making sure that your people, the population, who is supporting you, doing business with you, buying the products, producing the products and the services, why aren't you making sure that they have good prices and they have good quality?
Well,
I know that's a generalization, and and all businesses are not like that.
Right. I mean, I think at the
But you get a point.
yeah, certainly the consumer has far greater power in today's marketplace in the BVI than he had before. I mean, he can vote. In the past, if it wasn't offered here, unless you had the wherewithal, to go to St. Thomas or Puerto Rico or abroad, further abroad, to get your goods or acquire your services, then there was nothing you could do. I mean, but today, I mean, the average consumer, anyone with a credit card and a computer with a mouse, has tremendous power in the marketplace, and the potential to buy that purchasing power, help to regulate prices in the BVI, because the market is now so much wider. So I think that in theory, what you should have seen when businesses received those concessions was a decrease in prices, so that the businesses could better compete with the broader market.
No, that's a dangerous situation in my view.
Yeah.
And the business community seems to want a captive market, because they are saying that's a problem for us, because we can't get jobs from Amazon.
Right.
We can't get sponsorship from Amazon. We can't get nothing from Amazon. So the money just going out of the country. That means your business suffers, and of course you can't hire anybody. The whole country suffers. So that's a dangerous situation.
Right.
Does the business community recognize the danger in that situation and looking or attempting to mitigate it as a body, as a community, as a group? Have you had any discussions? Have you had any discussions with anybody about that particular situation?
I think they would like to. I mean, I've had discussions. I guess for myself, I haven't. I mean, given the type of business that I'm in, which doesn't involve selling goods,
Right.
it doesn't affect me as to that extent. But what's happening in the BVI is the same thing that's happening in small towns and large in the United States.
And they're trying to do something about it.
They're trying to do something about it, but how effective they'll be is an open question. I mean, I was looking at a list recently. Major retailers like Sears and J.C. Penney and some other major retailers whose name escaped me at the moment. Some of them aren't expected to be around past December 31st, 2017. They have fallen victim to the Amazon phenomenon. Whole malls are shutting down because people's shopping habits have changed. How we respond in the BVI, I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know how you put that genie back in the bottle.
But the thing is, I don't know that you can't put the genie back in a bottle, and I don't know that you should attempt to put the genie back in a bottle. You might need to see how you could control the genie, manipulate the genie. Create an environment where the businesses can function. Because suddenly we have to have businesses in the territory in
Absolutely.
order for us to survive.
I
There's no
think
question
one of the
about it.
things, Cromwell, that will help them to survive is they may not be able to compete on price with an Amazon or Walmart, which is again gearing up to enhance its online presence. But they can compete in terms if they can add value through service. This applies to those businesses selling goods. I mean, and there's some businesses, I won't name them, but there are some here in the BVI that have really stepped up their game and are offering far better service. They have loyalty programs, they have different incentives. You can go to an order desk and order what you want. So they have to differentiate themselves that way. I mean, to do nothing is to.
But even getting yourself in the global market.
Yes.
I mean, I had an experience. And I want to talk about what you just mentioned there. Businesses engaging the community, engaging the support of the community, because I think that's part of the solution.
Right.
But I had an experience where I wanted to buy an item, and it was a old item that was no longer being manufactured. And I looked, I Googled it and found it somewhere in a store online, and I ordered it. And I had problems getting it.
Right.
And the company, what I thought was a company that I was getting it from, kept giving me excuses, and I went back and forth. Finally, I never got the product, but I got my money back. Right? Come to find out through my interactions with what I thought was a company, was actually one person in their home that had that particular item that they were selling.
Yeah.
And it had appeared to me to be a big company on the internet.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that said to me, right, and at the moment, it said to me, there's no reason why I can't have my store on the internet, even though it's just me in the store, and have a nice website, and have people in Germany see something on my website that they like, and I ship it over to them, and the shipping is worldwide. So why aren't we being told, trained, encouraged, facilitated to enter the global market on that level, on that web level?
I think that's beginning to happen. I was at the Buy BVI trade show, what was it, 2 weekends ago, and there were at least 2 of the businesses that I stopped and looked at. They have a web presence for their product. You can go online and click just as an Amazon, put it in your basket, enter your credit card details, and they ship to anywhere else. I think what you're saying, what you suggest, is beginning to happen, but certainly there needs to be a greater awareness. And I think that the small businessman should be encouraged to pursue that, because the same way everyone is the same size on the internet. at least by appearances.
Absolutely. That's the point.
So yeah, you can get your product out there, but you have to be more creative. I think there's no doubt that the whole paradigm has shifted and
to me,
things
that,
have to-
and to me, that's what this is why I'm having these conversations. That business needs to, in order to mitigate all these different shifts and changes and innovations in the community, business needs to come together. There needs to be a unified approach in the business community to mitigate all of these various challenges for the success of the territory. And so that leads me to my question. Are you, as business people, engaging the community for support? Do you understand the politics of business? Do you understand your relationship between your market, yourself, and government in order to make of a harmonious relationship so that everybody get lifted with the rising tide? We got to take a break, come back, we're going to deal with that issue.
Sure.
Spotlight is brought to you by Ocean Conversion BVI Limited and BVI Tourist Board. We are one BVI.
Thanks for calling Nagico Roadside Assistance. How may we assist you?
Feel comfortable knowing that if you have a problem on the road at any time, Nagico Roadside Assistance is at your service. Available 7 days a week, 365 days a year across the whole island of Tortola. Just dial 346-4357 and we will be there ready to assist getting you back on the road. Whether it's a dead battery, flat tyre, low gas, or even if you've locked yourself out of the vehicle, we'll be there to get you on the road again. For further information, call Nagico Insurances at 284-494-6433.
Facebook, Instagram, you name it, I have it.
I use it for my internet, Skype, WhatsApp, YouTube, everything.
I can upload photos, share files, have meetings.
The data is ridiculously fast.
And when they switch to this LTE, wow, the speed is incredible.
Unlimited, unlimited, unlimited.
I don't have to go, how much data do I have? It's there. The other networks, I could WhatsApp on this one.
I absolutely love it. You have to get it, BVI.
Thank you, CCP.
When you're looking for anything locally, there's no better place to look than Yellow. Because Yellow always points you in the right direction. It gives you options for whatever you need. Just like a local one. Use Yellow and get local knowledge. Yellow. We know local.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. I don't know. I know you wanted to get in on the conversation, and I'm not going to be able to handle calls. I text. Maybe my number is 499-1328. Send a text. Don't call me. Send a text, and maybe I could get to read it in between the conversation. Because I know that some people are texting me and they want to get in. But we left off, of course, starting the conversation about engaging with the community. The business is engaging with the community. And the community, I get a sense, and I may be wrong, that the community feels that the businesses don't care about them. The business want to make money. It don't care about giving them a decent wage. It doesn't care about giving them good prices, good products. It just want them to spend their money with them because they're local in a lot of instances, and keep the money circulating in the territory, despite the fact that they can't afford it. I mean, am I assessing this? Am I reading the population, the consumer slash, because the consumer is the employee. So I like to say the consumer slash employee. Am I reading their feelings, their emotions in the general population correctly? Do you get that sense?
I'm sure some of that exists, and some of it probably is justified. I think that businesses that do not pay a fair wage, do not give back to the community, don't provide quality goods and services at a fair price. In the long run, they become victims of the workings of the marketplace, and they go out of business, and justifiably so.
But the people feeling that that's a general thing, even for you who give a fair wage and try to do good by the employees, you get that stain as well. And you know, you're not using that support and that employee power as a company to get those changes in government that's necessary in order for you to be able to do the things that you need to do. And I know that you talk about givebacks in terms of having money to give back to the community, having sponsorships, scholarships, all those other kinds of stuff. And by the way, I don't know how many companies give scholarships. I don't hear a lot of public relations around companies giving scholarships to local people, to students. I don't hear about businesses creating apprenticeships. I don't hear about those kinds of things in the community. You hear the government trying to create those types of facilities, but you don't hear of businesses doing those things for the young kids on the street and making sure that they're not idle, and making sure that they can learn a trade, or they could get a job so that they don't kill each other or be smoking all the time, or just running amok. I don't hear the business community engaging in that type of social activity. And you don't need to give money. You just influence government policy. With your tax dollars and government revenue being generated from a natural resource like call tourism and financial services, or natural resources, the allocation of funding for those social needs, certainly business can influence public social policy. It's like you don't understand the politics of doing business.
How do
That's
I?
a lot.
How do I answer that? I think that, I don't want to underestimate the power of business, but I don't want to overestimate it either. When I think of certainly myself and who I am and what I do, I think like most people, I don't think of myself first as a business person. I think of myself just generally as a member of, the society, the community. And so I don't think that people involved in business necessarily view their community engagement first and foremost as business people, or at least not all the time.
Is it a worthwhile position to take, you think? Is it something that will be beneficial to the business community? Is it something that the community needs in terms of leadership? That the business community take a certain leadership role in influencing public policy on their behalf, on the employees' consumer behalf?
I think that the business community could do more than than it has been doing, but I think, you know, if you ask, to answer your question about, you know, say shaping the direction of public policy, if the public policy, say, centers around, or the policy that you're talking about has to do with, say, juvenile delinquency or antisocial behavior.
Or just education?
Or just education.
Apprenticeship, you know, anything.
Well,
that's beneficial generally to the whole community.
So in some instances, you can be more effective wearing your, I mean, I could be more effective, say, wearing my lawyer's hat in trying to influence, say, social policy, if that's what needs to be done.
But can't you be more effective as a unified group of business people? I mean, that goes to government and says, look here, our community needs these things, and we want you to allocate a certain portion of our resources to making sure this happens in order for us to be a successful community. Don't you feel that you have that power? That come next election, you can select a group of persons seeking office who share the common view of enhancing the local community in order for it to be a community that everybody could thrive in. Business could thrive in, employee, consumer could thrive in, children could thrive in.
Business has a role to play, but I don't believe that in all instances business is the most effective advocate of some of those positions. Because it is not money alone. It isn't the force of money alone that can or should be used to influence people. I think in some instances you have to appeal to moral principles, which have nothing to do with business.
And that's fine, but yes it does, because you go and you say, listen, my brother politician, you know, we need to get so and so and so and so, and we willing as a community to help. What do we need to get these things done? What do we need to stop this violence? What do we need to get our children the trade? Well, I mean, I noticed, and forgive me, I want to give you the last few minutes. I noticed what I noticed for businesses now, instead of saying being committed to the local people, to our children and our people, they want training. They're saying our people got bad work ethic and they're not trained properly, and so we're gonna bring people from as far away as the Philippines, as far away as North America, as far away as South America, to fill the positions that we have. When they could say, you know, perhaps I need to get one manager from overseas and get our local people and have them, train them, whether it's in proper office etiquette, whether it's a trade, and so that I could develop a workforce, or go to the government and say, hey, listen, let's create an apprenticeship program so that we could train our young people to fill these positions, so that we could have our local people employed and benefiting from a good quality of life in their country.
Right.
I'm seeing the opposite. And then you turn around now and you say the community must support your business because it's local and because without a successful local business, you ain't gonna get no job, which is true. All of those things are true, but all those things are interrelated and connected. We need to have a harmonious relationship in order for those things to succeed.
To answer the last point you made first, I don't think that appealing to the general public to support your business because it's local, I think, is increasingly falling on deaf ears.
Right.
And justifiably so.
And I don't think it should, but that's my view. Go ahead.
If you're not providing a service, a good service at a fair price, or providing goods at fair prices, I don't care who you are, you're going to go out of business because the community will not support you. To address the first limb of the point you made, I agree with you entirely that there is a lot more that business can do in terms of let's say improving the skills and the attitude particularly of young people towards work. And this is something we've considered doing in our own self-interest. How do you, starting at the most basic level, how do you dress to go to a job interview? You're providing services to us, to you. How do you present yourself when you get on the job? You're asking us to consider engaging you to provide services. Who are you? Show me some sort of brochure or business card so that I can, look you up and determine who you are. So it doesn't have, we don't have to wait until we're big enough to be able to put a complicated apprenticeship program in place or, provide scholarships. There are some small steps that business can implement to assist particularly young people seeking to enter the job market. And that it's not expensive, it's not hard to do, but admittedly in large measure, to a large degree, we've not succeeded in doing it.
Well, you see, and we're under the tyranny of the clock, and that is my point, that business can influence. You don't have to do it yourself. You don't even have to spend the money to do it. You could have your tax dollars allocated to do it. And I'm saying that influence that you have, and I ain't saying that you're all powerful and you should just go around with a big stick. I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about partnerships. And you as a business community, you have the power to have those partnerships to be used for the common good. And this is what I would like to see happen in the territory.
Let me just close by saying those are ideals I share. How we go about it perhaps is where we might differ somewhat.
I don't even think we differ. It's just a matter of having a discussion and see what the method, what would be the best way forward. Yeah. I think but certainly it's I'm trying to start the conversation. I'm trying to bring these things to our public attention. Where we can make a difference as business people, and that we should make a difference as business people. Our lives, our country, our children, everybody depend on it.
That's true.
Yeah. Man, it was great.
Thank you.
It was great to have you. We got to do this. We got to do this some more. And on various other issues, not just business, but there's a whole lot of things to talk about in the community that we as Virgin Islanders need to start looking to solve the issues, looking to mitigate the challenges, looking to be more participatory. We need to participate more in in politics, not necessarily running for office, but just engaging in the allocation and the development of our resources in the territory, so that they have the most effect on the greater good. That's what I think.
Sure.
Anyhow, thanks for hanging out with me tonight, and for the as my guest on Umoja as well. That was informative.
Thank you.
It's always good to have you.
My pleasure.
Spotlight, of course, is seen Tuesdays at 8 p.m. here on JTV Channel 55. It'll be posted on Facebook. This program will be posted on Facebook, so you'll be able to see the program, and you can make comments on about the program on Facebook. I will respond, and I'm sure Colin is going to see it. We are friends on Facebook, and he's going to see the responses and the questions and the comments, and I'm sure he will respond as well. And we can continue the dialogue, after. You could watch Spotlight on demand at jtvlive.net. It's also up on the JTV page, on the Spotlight page, so you can catch up with all the spotlights. You can make suggestions as well about topics and guests you want to see or things that you want to have me talk about. I'm Edrenka, reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by CCTBVI, Life Unlimited, and the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official Bank of Paradise.